Okay, I'm standing over here to the back of the haul truck, and probably from what you're seeing right now, it doesn't look like a lot has changed since the last video, which was probably a month ago. I've been really kind of busy doing hauls and some other things, and I really haven't gotten a lot to done or been able to do on this in regards to getting that frame straightened back out again, getting the suspension systems built for it and stuff like that. But anyways, welcome to chapter 64 of the haul truck build. As I said, I really haven't had a lot to time to been able to work on this, but there has been some developments made in this project, and kind of that's what this video is going to be about. I'm going to shut you off now, and we're going to go into one of those developments, and here we go. Okay guys, let's talk a little bit about the haul truck. Okay, just a little insert here. I'm kind of standing in front of the sleeper, and maybe that could be a prelude to something. But anyways, I wanted to put this insert in here. What I'm about to show you, I kind of stumble over words and get a little bit excited for myself. Because what I'm about to show you has been a long time coming, and it's been very hard to find what I've been looking for. And I will tell you exactly why it was hard to find what I'm about to show you in another clip as we get farther into this. But just bear with me, my excitement kind of got the best. You see some boxes that I've got here, and what it is a rebuilding components for the A3 Cummins. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little unboxing type of thing situation, but when I was looking for rebuilding components, there was something that I had in mind. So let me shut you off and bring you back over to the engine. I pulled out one of the components out of the boxes, and I'm going to take you over to the engine and kind of show you what that one of those things, the main thing that I was kind of looking for in the rebuild kit. So let me shut you off. I'll bring you right back. Okay guys, here I am over to the front of the engine, and what I've done is pulled one of the pistons out of the boxes that I got. Now, as you can see from the existing piston, the combustion chamber in that piston is a lot smaller than the combustion chamber out of these new the pistons that I just got. What these pistons are early 90s style pistons, when the combustion chamber in the piston was a lot bigger. And what they did is they reduced it, the size of the combustion chamber back in the early 90s for emission, kind of pre-emission or early emission configuration. So I got the older style pistons, has a lot larger combustion chamber. I'm going to be able to get better horsepower, and with the other improvements that I'm making to the engine, getting a lot more airflow into it, so I don't have to worry about this smaller combustion chamber with that respect. But what I'll do is I'll show you the components as I unbox it in an unboxing video. Okay, now that you know what it is, and I'll do the unboxing, I'll show you that video next. But just let me say that that video was shot at the same time right after I got it, and my enthusiasm is still immense. I stumble over words and stuff like that. But we're going to go into the unboxing, Then I'm going to bring you back and I'm going to explain to you my enthusiasm for this, how long it's taken, and why it was so hard to find this. Okay, the unboxing video. So, as you have seen, I've already showed you the piston in relationship to the other ones. So, here is the 5 unopened boxes with piston sleeves and other accessories. Now, the other accessories include the O-ring for the sleeve. Okay, so this is probably the wrist pin for the piston. Yes, it is. The wrist pin for it. The snap rings to hold the wrist pin in. And the ring assemblies for the piston. So there is one piston assembly, and again I have the 6 of them for the 8.3. Let me shut you off and I'll bring you back with more boxes. Okay, in this box probably rod bearings for the crank. And these are crank bearings. And here we'll probably have gasket sets. So I dispensed with the painful procedure of you having to see me try to open these boxes, but again, there we go. Gasket sets. Valve stem seat retainers and stuff, head gasket. Even give you a gauge for the head bolt lengths. So let me bring you back. What I'll do is there's some other things that I'm going to discuss, but again, this is an in-frame kit, and I am going to be doing an external, I'm going to be pulling the engine out to do it. That's a cover for the intake manifold, or I'm sorry, the gasket for the intake manifold. But I'll bring you back. So one of the things that I discussed in that last clip was that that this kit that I had gotten is a in-frame rebuild kit. I'm gonna need a bunch of other stuff because I'm pulling the engine out and gonna do a external or out of frame rebuild on this. The engine has to be checked. I'm checked the head as far as straightness goes, or the plane of the head, and it appears to be good. But I'm probably going to send that and possibly the block to a machine shop just to make sure that it doesn't have to be decked or the head plane down. One of the things that I'm going to be doing is I've got this ARP catalog, and I'm probably definitely going to be getting head studs from them, possibly crank journal bolts, rod bolts, stuff like that. And then there's probably a multitude of other gaskets. Again, it's going to be an outer frame, so there's seals and stuff like that that have to be gotten. But I just kind of wanted to touch base with you and tell you that this kit that I had gotten is not the only things that I'll need for this engine rebuild. Okay, we're back over here to the engine, and I had told you in previous clips that I would come back and explain to you why it was so hard to find this rebuild kit. So let me just explain one thing first. There was two issues in finding the rebuild kit, or one issue in finding the rebuild kit, but another issue going along with finding the rebuild kit. The pistons that are in this engine I don't like. It's got that small combustion chamber. It also has a lip that's formed on the top of the crown of the piston. There's a little overhanging protrusion that's there, and most diesel engines that have that lip on there, and it's not something that's indicative just to Cummins. There's other ones that do that same thing. A lot of piston failures is because cracks form in those lips, that protrusion that sticks out there. I didn't like the combustion chamber. I thought it was terribly small and in my estimation poorly shaped, but that's besides the point. Only in hindsight to find out why they did it. So there was two issues. Let me get to the main issue first, and the reason I'm kind of standing or showing you the engine and standing here in front of the gear cover housing is because that is the key to my problems in finding parts for this thing. If any of you know Cummins engines, you'll know that on this gear cover housing there is a plate that goes from that pin down to this pin. It curves around here, and it gives you all the information of the engine. Year it was manufactured, the serial number, the model number, everything like that. And without the serial number from that engine, it's almost impossible to go to anybody that sells parts for Cummins and get them to commit to giving you parts because you do not have the serial number off of it. I'm not going to say I haven't found anybody yet that doesn't want the serial number off of the engine to establish what parts that you need for this engine. And that was the main drawback of this thing. And I had a couple of people that are very knowledgeable in Cummins engines trying to help me with this because, again, my background isn't with diesel engines. My passion is kind of maybe for diesel engines, but my background isn't that. I did something else for a living, and anybody knows that when you get technically involved in something, probably finding people to supply parts and knowledge of it is the biggest factor in trying to resolve issues with them. So I didn't know who to go to or who to talk to or what parts people to talk to try and find stuff for the engine. So I kind of asked a couple of people that work in that field, and one of them came through and got me that rebuild kit, and it took a while and probably a lot of legwork from him to be able to do it for me. And Brian, I thank you for it, bud. Without that serial number, there was Brian called me up and says that he possibly could find, well, I had talked to Brian to begin with and told him, let me backtrack here a little bit and go back to the pistons again. I didn't like the design of the piston combustion chamber right from the beginning, and I had told other people that, and the thought process was to have a piston made. Now, there's a couple of manufacturers that make aftermarket pistons, but they tend to be extremely expensive, in the range of $600 to $800 a piston. And that's not what I was. I didn't want to go that route. I didn't want to pay that much money for it right up front. I mean, if I was building a racing engine, yeah, I might do that. But to build a haul truck engine and pay that much per piston would be kind of bizarre. Anyways, Brian got a hold of me. Well, I was talking, I dropped something off. I did a haul for Brian and dropped it off to him, and I was kind of talking to him about this, and kind of right off the top of his head, I told him that I didn't like the piston design, and right off the top of his head said, well, you've got the later model piston in there. That small combustion chamber was something that Cummins came up with to try and reduce smoke. So he says 92 or prior were the bigger combustion chambers. The combustion chamber that I've got in that the pistons that I showed you with that rebuild kit. So this is a 96 engine, but the rebuild kit is from maybe a 92 or prior. But it wasn't that easy. Apparently they make two different style sleeves that fit in the 8.3 engine, and we had to determine which one that I had, and I thought I was going to have to pull the engine out, tear the engine apart, pull the sleeve out to be able to measure it, but he got me to get a sleeve measurement on the top here where it protrudes up through, and was able to correlate what I needed, that rebuild kit precisely to this engine, even though I didn't have the serial number off of it. But anyways, that's why it was so hard, and it was very time consuming. I had kind of started asking about rebuild kits over a year ago for this thing, and again, I tried looking, but I kind of relied on other people more so than myself because I didn't know who to go to or what exactly to look for. Again, I only found out about those pistons in kind of an, I don't want to say an off color, but just a random conversation that I had with somebody, and Brian just came up with that information. One of the things that I had tried to do is there were some casting numbers on the side of it, and he came up with where that block was made right away from those casting numbers that I gave to him. But that's regardless. It's just that sometimes knowing who to go to or the right people to get a hold of in a certain situation is probably 95% of the issue, or 95% of the resolution to the problem. Buying this stuff wasn't the problem. Trying to find the right stuff to buy was the problem. But anyways, that's what the longevity of this thing has been, and hopefully it's resolved now. On to other things on the haul truck. Okay, I had told you in other videos that I wanted to get the sleeper moved over to the lift and put up on the lift so that I could check the underside for attachment points, etc. And I couldn't do that because I didn't have fork extensions for the forklift. So here are the fork extensions. I got them built, and as you saw from the beginning of this clip, I'm able to get the sleeper moved. So I'm going to continue on from here. The fork extensions will be covered under a shop update for anybody that wants to know how they were made. Let me put you handheld and I'll explain to you why I just did what I did. Okay, I've got the sleeper over by the by the lift, and originally what I was going to do is position the arms of the lift under it to hold it up, but I'm not really sure that I can do that. I don't think that there can go narrow enough. Now, I'll give it a try, but as long as I'm here, I just kind of want to see what I've got underneath it. And those lines that you see sticking down there are heating and air conditioning lines. I just kind of wanted to see what I've got here for how it was attached to the front, and I'm going to assume probably that was a bracket or something, but let me get it up in the air. I'll bring you back. This is the first that I got to look underneath it, so let me bring you back, and I'll show you what I found. Okay, so we're back under here again. Now it's as you can see, I got the forklift up from underneath it, and it's sitting on the lift itself. Front sleeper goes towards the cab. It looks like some kind of a mounting bracket right here for a frame rail, and over here for the frame rail. Now it looks like something came off of here that may have been glued on there. So are we looking at some kind of a rubber cushion support that went in there? That's kind of what my first guess would be. And then in back, I've gone over that before, but just again to recap, these two brackets up here are shocks. These two are for airbags, and I'm assuming that this thing here is kind of like a panhard bar to keep it, because you only got shocks and airbags holding the back up, to keep it from swaying back and forth. Again, air conditioning lines, heating lines. I don't have plans for an air conditioner right now, so I'm not really sure where that's going, but anyways, that's kind of where we are. Let me give this some thought. I'm gonna leave it here for a day or so, just to kind of get some thoughts together. I'll take some measurements on those brackets and see where they where I think those brackets where it's unpainted, the blue, and see where that is in relationship to the frame rails. But yeah, some work on it. But that's probably going to do it for this chapter. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit that like button, subscribe. More to come.